So, welcome everybody to this very important EDUCAS meeting. We are more than happy to host you today. My name is Zorica Trikic and I'm a Senior Program Manager in ESA, International Step-by-Step Association, and it's my pleasure to facilitate this meeting today. And before we start, while we are still waiting for people to join us, I would kindly ask you to create some kind of a virtual ID. So you go to the bottom of your screen to participants, press participants, find yourself, press the 3 dots next to your name, and put your name, your organization, and the country you're coming from. Okay, so you go to the bottom, you press participants, you find yourself, you press 3 dots, you press rename and put your name, your organization, and your country. So, because today we are going to get involved in different kind of small group works, discussions, exchange, so it's good to know with whom we are talking. Since this is a meeting, we all have access to cameras and mics, so we kindly ask you to take care and to mute yourself when you are not talking. We would like to ask you to keep your cameras on so that we can see each other. And we also invite you to share with the others, but also to be respectful and to listen to your colleagues. Our agenda for today is we are going to present our project. We are going to work in small groups. In small groups, you will have opportunity to try some of the tools and approaches and methods developed under this project. We will also listen to the voices of practitioners from Belgium, Lithuania, and Italy. And we will also do some polls and some other interactive activities. So this is from my end for the beginning. Welcome, and let's spend 2 meaningful and inspiring hours together. So I'm going to ask my colleague Teresa to share with us video about the project. Instead of us telling you the story, let's look together what EDUCAS is about and why we are all so passionate about it.
Do you want to build, rebuild, or reorganize the spaces of your ECEC center by addressing the needs of children and families? Then take into account that learning, playing, and caring are intertwined. This is what we call educare. In an educare approach, those elements are all crucial, and none of them is valued less than the other. As the Italian pedagogue Loris Malaguzzi used to say, space is a third pedagogue. Children learn from other children, from the adults around them, and from the space. The way in which a space is built and organized supports professionals in acting in an educare way or not. In an educare approach, classrooms, entrance, common spaces, outdoor area, eating space, sleeping rooms, toilets are all equally important and should be aesthetically pleasing. Can children reach the toilet easily? Is it clean? Has the eating room good acoustics? Can children hear each other when they are talking? Is the outdoor area used enough? Is there a calm space to sleep and rest for them? And is there any room for parents to meet, sit and talk, come into the children's rooms? Because an educare approach is an inclusive and participatory one, in which we listen to children, families, professionals, the community. If we want to build or rebuild ECEC spaces, we need a multidisciplinary team. Pedagogues, families, ECEC staff, architects, policymakers think and plan together, taking into account the children's points of view. A group of researchers and ECEC centers in Italy, Lithuania and Belgium worked on educare and spaces within the EDUCAS project. They asked professionals, parents, children how they experience the ECEC spaces where they spend their time every day. This is what parents say. What I like about this place is that the moment you come in, there's a place for you to sit down and meet other parents and to have a cup of coffee. My child needs some privacy when he goes to the toilet. And this is what professionals say. I think we need spaces where children do things, but also quiet areas. I was surprised about how much you can do with simple and fewer materials. We eliminated some materials in the classroom, and now we see that children are calmer. And this is what children say. I like to play outside with my friends. I miss a bed to lay down and rest because sometimes I'm tired at school. On the basis of these answers in EDUCAS, professionals reflected together on their pedagogical vision and found ways to connect it with their spaces and their practice. All professionals were involved. This is crucial when working on educare. Professionals with different profiles, for example out-of-school care and school staff, should take the time to reflect together on their practice. Only in this way they can organize spaces that are coherent with their vision. If you want to know more about EDUCAS, you can visit www.isa.nl/educas. Here you also find a toolbox to concretely work on spaces and educare, and recommendations for policy and practice. Thank you to all the families, children and professionals that inspire us every day and that have made this work possible.
This was an animated story about EDUCAS, and I hope you all enjoyed, but I'm sure that my colleague Nima from VBGK, the coordinator of the project, would like to add something. Nima, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Zorica, for this introduction. I will just, since the movie says a lot, I will just add a few things to let you know what we did. And we are very happy to share our experience with you today. I am also going to share the screen. You see it there? Yes. Okay. So I will just quickly add, so you saw we worked in 3 countries, Italy, Lithuania and Belgium, with 1 research center and 2 ECEC centers in each country. And with the aim, so our main question was how to implement an educare approach within ECEC spaces that make learning, caring and playing possible in an inclusive way, with a participatory approach. What we did was basically an action research of 2.5 years. The project is almost finished. It will end in August with the ECEC professionals. So we started with collecting voices, as you saw in the movie, and then we built the CPD path, a continuous professional development path with the professionals. To work on spaces and educare, and everything that we developed within this action research path, we are now putting it together in a toolbox. Zorica will explain you better later what we collected, all the tools and the methods. And we also want to influence policy on these themes, so with the policy recommendations. So basically we always want to bring together research, policy and practice. We did many things. Here you see some of them. We started with focus groups. We also did drawings and interviews with children. Then we, for example, we reflected on observations and video observations. We reflected on pedagogical documentation, all with the aim of reflecting on your spaces in order to transform them and making them more linked with a vision that brings together learning, caring, and playing instead of separating them. We used a mood board and mind map to reflect, and you're going to see it in one of the workshops. We worked on the relationship with families, on the outdoor spaces. And of course, what helped here, it was creating a network with the other countries, but also within the same country. What we see, indeed, the success factors, and there are also the challenges, in fact. We see that indeed the mind shift, creating a mind shift, is the main thing that helps in working in an educare direction. But with mind shift, I mean that you kind of become aware of the importance of certain things that maybe you are already doing in practice. We give often the example of a Belgian professional that suddenly, after some months in this project, she came to us with a video. We were reflecting on videos, and in this video there was she made a video observation of a child that was putting his jacket on, and she was helping him. So it was a moment in which she took time for this, you can say, small action. And she asked to us, is this what you mean? Is this important, what I'm bringing now in this video? And we were happy that there was this kind of acknowledgement, this kind of mind shift. These things are actually important, helping a child doing these kind of things, or I don't know, washing your hands, but at the same time also reading a book. How can you make sure that you create an environment where well-being is taken care of, also when you, for example, read a book or have a more structured activity with children. And this mind shift, the things that we see that supported the mind shift are the reflection in the team itself, then the exchanges in the local professional learning community in each country among the two centers involved. We call it aha moments, where you say, ooh, I realized something. And of course, the international exchanges. And here, just to stay in the international mood, just to finish, we would like to quickly give you just one message from each country that we brought, that accompanied us in the project. From Italy, the less can be more idea and approach, meaning that spaces for children and families don't necessarily have to be overloaded and overstimulating, and that you can choose selected, well-thought materials, especially natural, non-structured, which allow children, they give to children space and time to discover in their own ways. This is definitely something that also the other countries developed, thanks to the visit to Italy. From Lithuania, the city is my classroom, meaning that there is a whole community outside the ECEC center, and how you can connect and create continuity between these two spaces. And our colleagues from Lithuania will talk more about this in their workshop. And from our side, from Belgium, redesigning together, bringing together also not only families, children, but also professionals with different profiles, different qualifications, different paths, and together, which in Belgium is not always the case, being able to sit and reflect and change, transform the spaces together. So that's it from my side. And we have 3 workshops, one for each country, that will go deeper in each local action research path. But before this, I will give the floor again to Regina to share some other informations also about the toolbox and some voices of the professionals before going in groups.
You forgot my name.
What did I say?
Regina.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's result of EDUCAS.
Sorry.
We merged,
Sorry,
but that's
Cha.
good. Can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Yes. It's because
Okay,
we have been so much together that now we are
now we are like
one community.
yes, we are like one community now, and I hope I am able to share because I'm not very skillful in this. So this is our treasure box or toolbox, which contains approaches, methods, and tools to support professionals. And the main purpose of this toolbox is really to provide professionals with support and inspiration. So whatever we have in this in the toolbox was created through joint work with children, families, professionals, and external experts, including universities. And it was developed through a very democratic process through learning communities, international, national, local learning communities. And we call it wonder and beauty. And this also comes from a practice from Italy, and we should say thank you to our colleague from Italy for this title. And in the toolbox, we provide, as I said, guidelines and inspiration. We are not providing recipes. We are not telling people what they should do. We are inviting them to look what we did and reflect on that and come up with their own way. Oh, these animations. So it's a very rich document. And in that document, this is the structure of the toolbox. We talk about approaches, and approaches are a very general way of dealing with specific topics, issues, questions, challenges. Methods are more specific, and they refer to particular procedures that were undertaken to achieve specific goals and to address specific issues. And at the end, we have a set of tools which are specific instruments that were used under the project. And this is how it looks like. So we have 3 approaches, and under each approach we have different methods, and under each method we have different tools. And tools are explained, approaches, methods, and tools are explained in detail. So this is, for example, one of the tools called mood board, with steps how they can be implemented, with ideas, but also every tool and every method and approach is accompanied with reflections from the practice and experiences from the practice. And this is another tool which is about how to work with children and drawings, because this is something that we are going to address in the group 2 with Italy. The mood board will be a topic of group 1 when we focus on small group work. So basically, this is about the toolkit. We hope it's going to be useful, practical, and again, that it's going to be an inspiration, not a recipe that you're going to take and apply in your work, but something that is going to inspire you and that you are going to add to our toolkit much more than we have at the moment. Nima, do you want to add something?
No, I think it was perfect, your explanation, Zorica. So
thank you. This is the way how we work. We praise each other all the time, and I really think it's a very important part of every project, and I think that was an added value in this project, this kind of caring for each other and parents and children, and really, as we like to say, walking the talk. And you will not hear now, but you will see in the toolkit reflections from the practice when one of the teacher is saying, I was always asking children what they think, but I didn't listen. This is the first time that I really listen when they tell me something. So I think it's something that we all have to learn how to do in our private, professional and personal lives. So now let's hear voices from the practice. Let's hear what Nicole and Ivan from Italy have to tell us about EDUCAS.
Ciao, sono Ivan, vengo Gelsomino. Allora, il percorso di EDUCAS mi ha arricchito sotto tanti punti di vista. Sicuramente il punto di vista personale, perché mi ha dato la possibilità di mettermi in gioco e lavorare attraverso modalità a cui non ero abituato, partecipare ai meeting con persone anche di altri stati, è stato molto interessante. E dal punto di vista professionale mi ha dato la possibilità di guardare con lenti diverse sicuramente alcuni aspetti che magari prima ero abituato a vedere in altro modo, e quindi ha aperto sicuramente una visuale diversa alla quale credo, inizio a crederci, quindi insomma questo è una bella soddisfazione. E lavorando appunto al nido con bambini molto piccoli mi sta aiutando ad avere un approccio con il rischio un po' più fiducioso, diciamo così. Però il lavoro secondo me è lungo e bisogna crederci e bisogna soprattutto confrontarsi tantissimo.
Questa esperienza mi ha consentito di ampliare il mio punto di vista sia per quanto riguarda l'edu che il care e il modo in cui sono correlati tra loro. Ciò mi ha portato a riflettere su come poter rendere visibili gli aspetti dell'apprendimento e della cura anche alle famiglie. Inoltre mi è servito per poter osservare in maniera più approfondita lo spazio e grazie a queste osservazioni è stato possibile apportare modifiche consapevoli che lo hanno fatto diventare un sostegno effettivo.
Thank you, Nicole and Ivan, and I'm so sad that you were not. We have this issue with language. People do not feel comfortable to participate in this kind of meetings because of the language, so we have to find a way to deal with that. So now we are ready to go into small groups, and I already see a mistake. It's not 35, it's going to be 40 minutes in small groups. Group 1, the topic is, what does this space need? So it's going to be about using mood boards, mind maps, and pedagogical documentation to redesign spaces. Group 2 is going to focus to listening to children and let's play with 3D models. And group 3 is going to focus on local community in our classroom, or local community is our classroom. And it's going to focus on promoting an educare approach in outdoor spaces. We are going to divide you in these 3 groups randomly, but don't worry, you will get, after this meeting, you will get recordings, so you will be able to see and hear what happened in the other groups. So let's repeat. We go to small groups, we have 40 minutes, and then we come back and exchange experiences. So Alyosha, can you press the magic button and you read teleprompt? Bye, see you. This was like cut in the middle of sentence. I hope you all had good time. Yeah. Nima was cut in the middle of sentence. So if you want to learn more, you have to go directly to Nima and Caroline for additional information. But I hope you enjoyed small group work. Can I have any kind of reaction, like how was it? Let me see. It was good. Do you feel inspired? Because that's the key. That's the main purpose of this meeting, that we inspire each other and that we learn each other. What I'm missing from the group one is that we didn't have time to fight. Why did some people put balls and bicycles in the sleeping room? But so I think this can be really very, very stimulating for people. So group one, can you tell us something about the group? Do we have any volunteer who would like to share? Just few highlights.
Zorica, which one was group one?
You. With
okay. Okay, I will share.
You are group one.
Thank you.
Link from TSA. Yep.
Yes. I really enjoyed the presentation and the instruments that Carolina and Nima shared. We had the chance to discuss how to stimulate the conversation and the reflection among the practitioners on the space of the play area or the kindergarten or the setting, how to maybe use some brainstorming to share what is important for them, and to maybe even go back to their own childhood and reflect on how they remember the feelings, the smells, and how then the setting has to reflect those memories and to be a pleasurable space. Also, what makes the practitioners feel at home and what would really make the child feel at home. And we discussed the different methods to reflect on the practice, to reflect on the setting, to reflect on the different areas in the early education and care setting, and how we can and how the practitioners can reflect and improve the overall effectiveness of the space to be a welcoming and nurturing environment for the child, but also for the family, for the parents and the family. And yes, that was quite inspiring, so thank you.
My mic doesn't want to accept my like unmute, but I tried to share the screen. I hope you've seen Jamboard from the group one, what we did, how the process was involving. And anybody else wants to add something? Come on. Okay, group two. Can we go to group two? It was, let's play with 3D model. Who is going to tell us what happened in your group? People are always asking us to make this kind of interactive meetings, and then when you have access to camera and to mic, nobody wants to speak. Come on. Sara.
Yeah, I talk about all the Italian tools, and both for adults, but observation, with observation, questionnaire, and for children. And we were starting to discuss a little And people didn't expect that children put themselves in the sleeping room and love the sleeping room as the most favorite place in the school. And I was discussing with someone from Bulgaria that said that in Bulgaria, children are traumatized from too much sleeping. So it has been very interesting also for me to see the difference between countries. And we see some drawings, we see the three-dimensional models, and I hope it was interesting.
Is there somebody who would like to tell us what inspired you, what you liked the most in the group too?
Can I say?
Yes, please, please.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Sarah about doing great presentation. It was really informative, even though so much statistics and information. She tried to squeeze it into this presentation. Thank you so much. And yeah, we were, I guess, all to some extent, were surprised by the fact that children actually showing the need to spend some time alone, not only in the sleeping room, but putting first some basic needs like toilet and eating space and sleeping space, while actually the first thing coming to our mind is like some play activities and playing with friends. And we all know how, like educators, we're all thinking at first place about play areas, interactive zones and something, but that 3D model actually was so effective to show that children having some other needs first, so you can focus on that maybe at your own place. And the very interesting thing was about remodeling the places. So that was the first kind of tool to reflect all together with the educators and specialists from the university on how to easily redesign the space. And Sarah showed some cases of how actually by moving just one drawer from the entrance to some nearby zone helped a lot to free the space and make the welcoming of parents with children more like satisfying, rather than like just coming and leaving the child, but more like an area to communicate and spend some time together while greetings in the morning and leaving in the evening. Yeah, that's it.
I think you were impressed, like we all were impressed, that children started to talk about the toilets, and that also they started to talk about the noise while they're eating and things like that, and everybody was expecting that they would require even more stimuli and more play, but it's not. And that's really, really very important part of the story, just to think and to listen to. If you as a teacher sometimes feel overwhelmed and need 5 minutes of quietness, why wouldn't they just go to the corner? And I saw how you placed yourself, and Alyosha is always in the sleeping room. So it's very interesting, and what I think that these tools are providing is this some kind of playful but very stimulating reflection tools that you can apply with your colleagues and play with them and talk about very serious things. Thank you so much. And group 3, what did you do in outdoor spaces?
I think that the composition of our group was very interesting because we have only participants from Lithuania and only Teresa from ESA, who was on duty, yeah, and Christine from Latvia. And you know, I think that maybe Christine also have some percentage of blood of Lithuanian people because as I know, she likes Tepelinai very much.
So you had a Lithuanian exclusive meeting. I really apologize. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, it is mysterious, you know. And what we were presenting our concept, which is very alive in Lithuania, and I can say that probably 90% of teachers are using it, that we are using local community as a classroom. So it was interesting how it is done in rural area, and Roberta presented how they are using nature outside of the preschool and what they learn, how children feel in it. And then Vaikystės sodas, they told how they use whole Vilnius with theaters, with museums and parks for learning and being in the city.
Making children present and visible all over the place. Yeah, thank you. I'm so sad that this happened, and I don't know what kind of wicked game Zoom is playing, but I'm sure that we can share recording and videos and everything and make people more aware what happened. Do you have any questions before we move forward?
Maybe from my side, I would like to add that as only one participant,
non-Lithuanian person
with hidden Lithuanian blood, I think for me the one great thing what I heard was from the presentations was sentence that after that teachers have more fun to work after they started to really listen to children, and I think it's great result of the project. And also I like it really much. I haven't thought about that before, why children like so much outside activities, outdoors activities, and one of the reasons that they can be as loud as they want. So it's so simple, but it's so true. Yeah,
thank you, Christine. It was very interesting. And I think that's why we decided to call the whole story Wonder and Beauty, because it's when you really connect with life, and when you really connect with colleagues, with children, with families, then everything is easy. As long as we stay, and that was mentioned before, as long as we stay in our head, Anastasia mentioned, thinking what we have to do instead, what is needed to be done, it's suffering. But the moment you go with the flow, miracles can happen. Thank you. Any other questions? Because this was not planned, we finished with exclusively Lithuanian group, and now we are going to hear what Lithuanian teachers have to tell us. Teresa, Lithuanian teachers, can you share?
In the EDUCAS project, we learn how to ask children's opinion and to hear the voices of children. I think their opinion is so important and they feel valued because of that. We all know that children see things from different perspectives, and I think it helps to create a better place for them and all of us.
EDUCAS helped us to strengthen the bond with parents of our community. We started the project by renovating the entrance spaces for parents, followed by the renovation of classrooms and our courtyards. The additional information, such as advices from pediatrician or psychologists, were added to our Fridays letters, and parents were also presented with various choice of webinars and virtual meetings, both from the founder of Vaikystės sodas as well as other leaders of kindergarten. And the daily feedback on the KinderVibe app has also been updated. Saying thank you has always been one of our big traditions in our organization. When an employee working for 5 years receives a silver brooch with diamond in it, and teacher's emotional state has also been taken into consideration during the time of EDUCAS, and the ritual of telling thank you once a month in a note form takes place till this day. And another tradition of publishing the electronic weekly collegium started, where teachers shared their experiences, suggestions, advices, and other useful information takes place. And the bondage created during the period of EDUCAS showed really great results and even greater promises.
The best thing we did during EDUCAS project is regular staff meetings. By planning with teachers, we are improving a common understanding of quality work and collaboration between one another. Also, we invest a lot of time in positive communication with parents. It was so hard at first, but now we have three-way communication. It helps a lot to understand each other and work together. We all know that unity is our strength to achieve more.
EDUCAS help us change educational spaces, playground spaces, spaces in the classes. At the beginning of the project, we noticed that our classes are very colorful, and we have a lot of plastic toys in the shelves that make a messy look. And EDUCAS project help us to put things in the right places, because now we know that less is more. We started to use calm colors, not so much plastic toys, but to choose nature products, and classes became more bright, more peaceful. And even our logo tells us that you can create the colors in your mind and imagination.
Thank you, colleagues from Lithuania, and I would like to use this opportunity to say a huge thank you to all professionals who recorded themselves and shared their thoughts with us. And now, based on everything that you have heard and learned until now, imagine that you are supposed to meet with a policymaker. What kind of recommendation would you give to them? What kind of policy recommendation? So go to menti.com. You can do it in a new window, or you can do it on your phone. You do www.menti.com, enter the code 31547801. And then write down. Don't write too long sentences, but try to formulate recommendations that you would like to give to policymakers. What they should do to promote integration of care and education, to promote educare approach, to promote I don't know, I don't want to tell you. You can start writing. So for now, we have listened to children, include educare curriculum, invest in youngest in environments. The space is a teacher. So maybe policymakers should think how to involve different perspectives while they're building and reconstructing or rebuilding early childhood education and care spaces. So it seems to me, and I'm going to make a judgment now, that we all have to exercise how to translate our great achievements into policy recommendations, and maybe some kind of demands, what we really think that should be done and that we demand from the others to do. So based on some recommendations, I think that what we are trying to say is that while creating or reconstructing spaces, all perspectives should be included. It's not about, it's not only about architects, but it's about multidisciplinary teams and different perspectives. If you have any comment, you just join. I'm not, and teachers should be prepared. Teachers should be supported. And this is what we are also stressing in a toolbox, that we cannot require, that we cannot demand that people do some things without providing them with adequate support. And it should be shared responsibility.
Maybe if I can add one thing, Zorica.
Yes, please, please.
Because I'm actually reading a lot of things that we're also elaborating with Regina also for the policy recommendations. And so thank you. Some things will be inspiring. Definitely one point is the pre-service and in-service training, that indeed we also stress the fact that so educare and the importance of spaces should be there. But also, what does it mean? So it means that actually professionals or future professionals should also be aware of the fact that observing, listening, planning, reflecting has to have a place in their competences. And they have to be aware, for example, that drinking a cup of coffee with families is not losing time or a devaluation of their job, because sometimes I hear this. But actually it's part of being a competent professional. So that's one of the things indeed. Then another thing that we also address is the need, if you rework or if you rebuild or build spaces, to have a multidisciplinary team, multi-professional, where you have, you listen indeed as you are writing to the voices of everybody. So parents, children, professionals, the pedagogue, but also if an architect is involved, there has to be a kind of communication where you take care of all the voices, which let's say we exposed this idea also to our stakeholder group in Belgium, and some people said, oh, this is ambitious. But we also think it is ambitious, but it seems that you but that takes more time, but actually you save budget also besides the time if you take into account everybody from the beginning instead of correcting yourself the whole time. The problem is if nobody told you that children need a place to sleep, then you suddenly have a space where they cannot sleep, and you have to correct this the whole time, with half solutions, which are also sometimes more expensive. So that's also another thing we also say is the child-adult ratio, that if you work on an educare vision, you need spaces to be organized in a certain way, but you also need to be able to work in those spaces with not too many children. And also we connect the spaces with the time. So if you work on spaces, having beautiful, well-organized spaces is not the only thing. You also have to know how to use them. So if you say, for example, that eating or sleeping are important moments, then you also have to have time for them, and not treating them as side activities that have to be done quickly in order to go back to the actual learning, which is connected to what someone wrote here about the curriculum. So revisiting the curriculum. Yeah, but anyhow, I'm reading a lot of interesting things, so thank you.
Yeah, but I think what is also very important in the story is that it's rethinking everything. It's also rethinking how we value what the quality space is, because we usually value this kind of what our colleagues from Lithuania were mentioning, colorful, full of materials. And on the other hand, we are learning that this is not working and that less can be more. So we really have to open dialogue about how we are going also to improve self-assessment tools, external evaluation form, and how we are going to give, how we are going to recognize spaces and educare approach in this kind of documents, and how we are going to promote idea that assessment should serve to improve practice, not as a tool for support, not as a tool for measuring and punishing those who do not follow the rules. We will stop now. Thank you for all these ideas, because I think it would be nice to hear what Belgian professionals have to tell us. We heard Caroline and Nima, so let's hear to teachers. And again, our opening part, we are very proud of it. Sorry, a small glitch.
Wat dat speciaal was, wat wij aangepast hebben eigenlijk aan na het EDUCARE-programma of tijdens het EDUCARE-programma, is dat wij de ouders vooral in de klas wilden hebben. En dan hebben wij eigenlijk specifiek voor hen deze zetel aangekocht, zodat ouders kunnen binnenkomen met hun kind en dan samen met hun kind in de individuele bakjes dat elk kindje hier in de klas heeft, hun spulletjes kunnen wegstoppen of terug meenemen naar huis.
Door het project en onze verschillende bezoeken heb ik ook ingezien dat de ruimte heel belangrijk is. Ik heb heel veel veranderd in het klaslokaal, onder andere heel veel dingen weggehaald. Gezorgd voor een ruimere klas, wat voor een zekere rust zorgt. Er is ook minder materiaal, maar het wordt vaker gewisseld, waardoor je een ander soort spel krijgt. Iets wat voor mij zeker een meerwaarde is in de klas. Ik zelf heb uit het project vooral meegenomen dat de gelijkheid en de samenwerking met de begeleider heel belangrijk is. Ik ben er mij meer van bewust dat ook verzorgende taken bij mijn pakket horen en dat ik daar samen met het kind evenveel plezier kan aan beleven, dat wij daar ook iets uit kunnen leren, dat het kind daar iets uit leert en dat het waardevolle momenten samen zijn.
Voor mij was een echte eye-opener tijdens en na het project dat als ik in een klas binnenkom, een leergroep binnenkom, dat mijn aandacht niet meer gaat naar alles wat bijvoorbeeld tijd- en ruimtekaders zijn, Wat ik eigenlijk eerst ga kijken, wat is de sfeer? Is het gezellig in de groep? Zijn de kinderen, is er aandacht voor de kinderen? Is het welbevinden van de kinderen goed? Is het welbevinden van de begeleiders goed? Wat voor mij eigenlijk een hele grote uitdaging is, zelf als onderwijsmens, als leerkracht, is om met een andere bril te kijken naar leren. Gedurende het project heb ik echt wel gemerkt dat de blik die we hebben op leren ook op een andere manier kan. En ik heb gemerkt dat er veel meer leerkansen zijn door ook met een één-op-één relatie met een kind aan de slag te gaan. Als je die momenten kan gaan ontdekken in je werking, zoals verversen van een kindje of een eetmoment, dan merk je dat je een veel hoger rendement hebt qua leren.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you to our dear colleagues from Belgium. And now we have one more question for you. Based on everything that happened today, what are you going to change in your practice when you go back? Are you going to change anything, or you're going to say, my practice is great, I'm not changing anything? So it's the same code, it's the same Mentimeter. So www.menti.com, code is 31547801. Just try it. Is there something that you feel inspired to change? Or is there something that you feel very good about? Because you saw today that people in other places are doing something similar. Caroline, you have a smile. What is your reflection on this answer?
No, it's more there's a concrete action. Some less colors. I will change this. I will talk to children for the spaces they like. I see it's nice to read all those reflections. Very concrete. Yeah.
So it's like when we say that learning is more than schooling and that education is more than the place where the process is happening. It's the same here. Playful activities with the focus on learning and gaining new skills are not the only place where learning is happening. Learning is happening everywhere, and one of my favorite photos, this photo from Belgium when they're sleeping and holding hands, two girls, and what they are learning. And I think that's the key question that we should ask ourselves all the time. What are we learning today? What are we learning through this meeting? Because we are learning a lot, not from concrete information that was exchanged, but from communication between us, from these reflections. And you know, we have to consider the learning spaces. We didn't mention it here, but it's also part of the space to create cozy and nurturing places for educators. And this is something that we are mentioning in the toolbox, that we create spaces for children, spaces for parents, but professionals also need some cozy spaces where they feel comfortable and inspired. Don't be afraid to explore new spaces. Yeah. Those who are going to read EDUCAS Toolbox, we hope we will meet your expectations. So let's do it a few more seconds. And if you, because you all have access to mic, if you have some reflection on the answer that you're seeing, please say. Don't be scared. We are not so. And here is again, advocate. I think we all need to advocate more for the things we believe in. Okay, thank you, Alyosha, for Mentimeter. And I think it would be nice to hear now Italian practitioners, because they talk a lot about observation and reflection. And sorry for this opening and closing music, but you can dance while you are listening.
Allora, io dopo questi 2 anni di lavoro mi porto dietro certamente diciamo, un rinnovato interesse per l'osservazione, grazie alla quale mi sento insomma attualmente, a livello attuale, di intervenire sullo spazio in maniera più consapevole, diciamo, come liberandomi dal rischio di lavorare e di intervenire sullo spazio o anche di non intervenire, insomma di andare avanti per partiti presi, per stereotipi, insomma portando avanti delle pratiche semplicemente perché lo faccio da tanto tempo e penso che siano quelle giuste, insomma. Invece appunto dopo questo percorso l'osservazione, che forse nell'immaginario collettivo è vista come una cosa noiosa, come una cosa pesante, invece io l'ho rivalutata veramente molto positivamente, considerandola proprio un aiuto nel pratico, proprio nel quotidiano, ecco.
Io mi porto un paio di cose molto interessanti dopo questo lungo percorso. Innanzitutto una consapevolezza di come esistano diverse pratiche educative e pratiche metodologiche poi nella quotidianità a livello culturale secondo vari paesi a confronto. Poi mi porto interessante la modalità che abbiamo utilizzato nell'osservazione, quindi gli strumenti fornitici dall'Università di Parma, una griglia molto interessante che permette un approfondimento di tutti i vari aspetti e che sicuramente in occasione di prossime osservazioni o altre tipologie di interessi mirati mi farà lavorare contemporaneamente su diversi livelli. quello empatico, quello pratico, quello osservativo, cercando di essere in parte distaccato. Però devo dire che questo è stato molto molto interessante, soprattutto perché è una pratica che dovrà essere poi quotidiana, ecco.
So we are approaching the end of our meeting. So I would like to ask one more time, is there anybody in our audience who would like to say something, some reflection, some unanswered question, personal experience or professional experience which is similar? I don't know what to do to motivate you to speak. But it would be great to hear more voices from the audience. Okay. Any comment? You don't have to answer the questions that I just posed. Any comment? Because there are some interesting comments in the, but I don't dare to call people by name. EDUCAS team, do you want to say something? Regina, Sarah, Ada, Caroline, because Nima and me, we did a lot of talk.
But I don't know if our colleagues want to say something, then I leave them the floor. No. And if not, I can I can always say, Michaela, voila.
I wanted to call her name, but I was scared. It's good. Michaela.
I thank you so much for the entire presentation and for having so many materials, video, visuals, all kinds of to stimulate our thinking. But what I would like to say is that it cannot be seen all the work that has been behind or everything that you presented. But as I see a lot of projects, that are having lots of materials and not always having the time perhaps to go in depth about them. I think that the way that the workshop you organized triggered perhaps more attention into looking into the so many tools that are created and can be so useful. But beyond being useful is what actually they are containing in terms of meaningful processes that we should go with practitioners through. So I think that's what I really get out of this project. It shows that there has been such an in-depth thinking about articulating a pedagogical understanding, explanation, and reasoning in why are we doing this? It's not just to make, another project, an interesting one. It shows the passion that you also had, really believing that this is something so important that sometimes is not really understood in the depth of what the environment means for children. And I'm saying not just for children and parents, but for professionals too, because they are the engine of everything. So if they don't feel passionate about it and feel engaged and feel that the in-depth importance of the place where they, together with children, are spending a lot of time together every day, it's useless. So I think I hope all of us will manage to spread, the knowledge that has been created, to disseminate this, because otherwise it would be just another project that did a lot of good things, meant a lot for those that have been involved, but it should not stay contained into the small group of people that have been touched by this project, but there should be many others that should go through the entire process of reflection and embed these practices in the everyday life. This is my takeaway. And thank you for all the way that you prepared everything, but also for all the work that has been put into this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Michaela. And we left our Italian colleagues for the end, this video, because they're very honestly talking how they were bored and they thought that observation and reflection is just boring and time consuming, and if you notice his sentence during this very long, which means that it lasted but how they regained, and this is what you mentioned, how they regained understanding why this is crucial. So it's not about people, about something that people do not want to do. What people need, including small young people, is that things are meaningful. It's not important how big or new or revolutionary they are, but it's more about how what kind of improvement this brings to my practice, and what you mentioned, more joy and more, you know, we call it sometimes terror of participation. If you have participation, you have more demands. So we had the story of a teacher coming to school and to kindergarten, and kids were looking at the new white tables. And they said to their teacher, "We don't like this. This is too plain and too boring. You have to do something with these chairs and the tables." And then they together put some shapes and things like that. But it's really showing how much joy it can bring to all of our lives. If there are no more comments, you're going to hate me, but I'm going to send you again to Mentimeter, because we want to have your thoughts, at least written if you do not want to speak. So the same Mentimeter, the same code, but now, Marina, I hear you complaining.
Yes, because I don't manage to join in right time, so I'm so sorry I miss the major parts. I'm looking forward for recording.
We will give you recording, but now for Mentimeter, just use 2 words to share your reflection on this meeting. So again, www.menti.com 31547801, and then type 2 words as reflection on this meeting. Meaningful, inspiring, community, unity. It's nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your time. Thank you for interest. And I will share at the end some links. You can always reach to us if you want to learn more. And as Teresa mentioned in the chat box, you can express your interest in the toolbox, and we will send it to you when it's finished. Children like to sleep. Children want some privacy, I think, like all of us.
Yeah, that's one of the main findings.
Yeah.
Together with the less can be more. And also, if I can say one thing, it's a nice connection with what one of the Italian professionals was saying. I became more aware And it seems something small, but actually this is exactly the aim of this and other projects, like raising awareness on policy and practice level. It's the most important thing, because you can even, sorry, this is my clock that does. We're talking about sounds. So you can have, sometimes when we talk about spaces, people say, yes, but we don't have budget, which of course, I don't want to say that having budget is not important, it's very important. But if you have budget and you are not aware, you don't know what to do with this budget, and then it's lost basically. So it's very important to really work on knowing what you are doing and why. And eventually in this way you can accompany children and families even when the spaces are not the way they should be, let's say, if you had a budget. So of course if you have both it's better, but I want to say that being aware, it's definitely something important. That's why then you need child-free hours to reflect and all the things that we said. So thank you very much for all these.
And we are, it's 12 o'clock, so we are running out of time, and I won't share one more slide. I'm just going to tell you that you can find us, and you can find links in the chat. Thank you all. Thank you to those, and I like to stress this, that you see some of us today, but the huge work was done by people that you cannot see. And we would like to say hi to them and huge thank you. For ESA, this was a wonderful project. You learned what research centers and early childhood centers in different countries did. For ESA, it was a great pleasure to be part of this project, to disseminate and to contribute results and to contribute to the toolbox and some other outputs, I don't know, language, deliverables, outputs or whatever. And my suggestion would be that we finish this meeting as we started, with the music, What a Wonderful World, and some photos. So if you have time, stay with us and hope to see you again. Bye.
And a big thank you to the ESA colleagues.
Yes, I didn't say. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Alyosha.
And you.
Yeah. I'm going to quit as a conferencier.
Thank you.
Thank you all for everything. And let's finish where we started with the images. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. All the best.
Goodbye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
See you. Thank you.